You are in the final round of an interview for a role you desperately want. The hiring manager slides a whiteboard marker across the desk and asks a complex systems question. Your mind goes blank. You have no idea how to even begin the solution. This diagram illustrates the most common and most dangerous reaction. They value the ability to navigate the unknown safely. In their eyes, pretending to possess perfect knowledge is an indicator that you will struggle silently at work until it is too late to fix the problem. This behavior is a survival mechanism. For 20 years, restrictive educational systems have conditioned students to believe that having the right answer is the only path to safety. By graduation, the fear of being wrong is hardwired into their professional identity. Traditional corporate cultures reinforce this fear through a legacy of hazing. In many manufacturing plants and service firms, senior staff operate on a mentality of, "I suffered, so you must too." They ignore new hires and hoard knowledge, forcing graduates to hide their mistakes just to avoid being targeted. This environment produces the passive executor, shown in the bottom left quadrant. These employees keep their headphones on and their heads down. They follow orders without question and disappear the moment a problem arises, becoming a high-maintenance burden for the entire team. This graphic explains why this is a disaster for leadership, using a paradox called the Cobra effect. In British-era Delhi, the government paid bounties for dead snakes. To earn more money, people started breeding cobras just to kill them. When a manager punishes honesty, they accidentally incentivize employees to breed and hide problems until the system is overwhelmed. In a production environment, this silence allows small errors to compound. When multiple people hide their gaps to protect themselves, it creates a massive drain on the team's mental resources. Small, undetected gaps eventually align to create catastrophic failures that can cost a company millions. There is an alternative to the passive executor. It is the archetype of the zero-maintenance engineer. The title describes an engineer with internal feedback loops. They possess the self-awareness to catch their own mistakes and pull themselves out of confusion before a small error affects the rest of the team. Looking at the top right quadrant, we find the curious builder. This role requires a combination of high agency, the drive to solve things for oneself, and high openness to learning. They view their own uncertainty as data to be processed, not a weakness to be hidden. You can build this DNA independently. By following a specific protocol outside of a traditional office environment, you develop the habits and the public record of an elite problem solver. This starts with the 20-30 rule. Instead of obsessing over one perfect portfolio piece, you prioritize volume. You use weekly hackathons to build 20 to 30 solid, small products before you ever apply for a senior role. Prioritizing rapid iteration over perfection trains your brain to spot architectural risks early. You stop fearing the failure of a broken build because you have seen it dozens of times before. This process requires you to navigate the framework shown here, the learning pit. Every new challenge starts with a drop into the "I don't get it" phase. Most people quit here because the drop feels like a personal failure. As the figure on the right demonstrates, the aha moment only comes to those who normalize the struggle. When you view confusion as a standard part of the design, it stops being a catastrophe and becomes usable data that leads to a solution. To internalize these lessons, you use the talk, write, teach plan. Every time you fix a mistake, you document it. You record a video, write a blog post, or teach a peer. This documentation gives you the confidence to provide what this graphic calls a reasonable no. Because you have data on your previous builds, you can push back on impossible requests with a clear reason, an explanation of the trade-offs, and a viable alternative. Providing a data-backed alternative moves you out of the liability column. You become a strategic asset who actively identifies and stops architectural risks before they ever reach a customer. This protocol often feels like invisible progress. It works like a Chinese bamboo tree, which grows a massive underground root system for years while the surface remains completely bare. While the surface looks unchanged, you are secretly building an elite mental model. You are creating a verifiable public record of your ability to document, fix, and communicate through complex problems. Now consider the outcome back in that high-stakes interview room. An impossible question is asked, one designed to test the limits of your knowledge. Look at the sequence on the right. Instead of a blind yes, the zero-maintenance graduate demonstrates intellectual humility. They say, I don't know, ask contextual questions to define the constraints, and point to their documented history of solving similar unknowns. In a crowded job market, rote knowledge is no longer your edge. Your competitive advantage is the transparent feedback loop. Showing extreme ownership of your learning process provides the reliability that top-tier teams prioritize when hiring at scale.